Hi, everyone. I'm here with Karen. Karen, would you like to introduce yourself?
Oh, sure. I'm Karen Brann. I'm the Director for Faculty Affairs at the School of Engineering and Applied Science.
And Karen, I understand that you're an enthusiastic user of ChatGPT.
I am indeed, Chris. One of the things that I like to do is use it for ideation. It generates a ton of ideas. I use it in my personal life. I use it in my professional life. I use it for my friends. I'm just excited by this tool.
That's awesome. I feel the same way. So I thought it might be useful for other staff members if we could walk through an example of how you used it for work.
Absolutely. One of the things that I did recently was the dean asked me to find ways to make the new faculty orientation programming a little bit more interactive. One of the things that we have found is that it's a solid 2 hours of sitting with people talking at our new faculty, and we wanted to find a way to bring them into the program so that they can give, their ideas and feel a little bit more part of the process from very early on. So what I did was I took the program as it existed and I dropped it into ChatGPT and I pasted this is the program as it was, and I asked ChatGPT, do your thing. And
so let's look at the top of this prompt. So I see here you've given it instructions. You tell it, you, meaning ChatGPT, are planning a new faculty orientation program for about 8 incoming faculty, a blend of assistant professors, research assistant, practice assistant professors, and senior lecturers. And then you give it the whole program and ask it to suggest ways of making this more interactive.
yes.
Shall we scroll down and see what it is? Or do you
Absolutely.
Want to
I just want to point out a couple of things about this. So when I'm giving prompts to ChatGPT, I tend to anonymize the prompt. I take out any identifying information because we don't want to be sharing information with OpenAI or anybody else about the people in our school. So there are no names in here. I don't even tell it which school we are at. So usually I would say something like R1 Engineering School. And these just have the titles of the events or the segments of the program and the role, I should say, of the person who's actually going to be delivering the information.
And then just as a comment, one thing that I really like about the prompt is you're giving it clear instructions. So I think this idea of starting your prompt, instructing GPT on what role you want it to play is like a really great formula for constructing good prompts.
Thank you. Yeah. So the great thing about ChatGPT is how fast it is. In seconds, it starts spitting out answers, and within maybe about 20 seconds, you have a response that is pretty comprehensive. So it came up with several suggestions about each part of the program, how we can introduce one technique that would make it a little bit more interactive. If I think about the amount of time it would have taken me to do this, one, to come up with the ideas or to have a meeting to come up with the ideas, and then, to shrink everything down. And here, as you can see, in real time, this is happening in seconds. One of the things that I do is I read everything very carefully. And, this is a tool. It's supposed to help you do your job. It's not going to do your job for you. At the end of the day, the value that you are bringing is that you have the knowledge of your local environment, what makes sense in your context, whether you're advising students, whether you're working with faculty, whether you're planning an event. You can read the output that ChatGPT generates and make educated guesses as to what makes sense and what doesn't make sense in your context. And if something doesn't sound right, you can either check it in the real world, or you can suggest to ChatGPT that this does not sound like it makes sense. Can you please come back with an explanation and see what it says? So very often I challenge it if I see something that I'm not happy with, or I just ignore it.
So I really like your use case of using ChatGPT for ideation. Like, I think it's an excellent tool for idea generation. And I feel like that best practice of reading over what it's produced and checking it is perfectly integrated into idea generation, right? Really what you're doing is just brainstorming and then picking some things that appeal out from what it's suggested. But then another really exciting thing is there are other models that also let you upload other kinds of data. Mm-hmm. So one of my favorite is not ChatGPT, but it's from another company called Anthropic. Mm-hmm. So this is another startup in this area, and they have a system called Claude, which is very similar to ChatGPT. And then one of the things that you can do with Claude is attach files. So it'll take PDFs, text files, comma-separated values, which is a kind of spreadsheet. So for this one, I've grabbed an article from Penn's Human Resources. I just chose one at random. This is about what kind of adoption assistance Penn provides. And we can attach that. So I've created a PDF here. We're going to upload it, and then we can basically ask questions about this HR article. So I can say, what is the maximum amount that Penn provides for adoption? And again, we don't have to be perfectly correct in our spelling. And then it'll just grab the correct answer from that article.
Wonderful.
So it'll look directly.
Oh, that is great.
Yeah.
Because I get a lot of questions from faculty about policies, and I go to the faculty handbook and I have to summarize what it says. So this would be really useful.
Yeah. And so I actually started with the faculty handbook, but that's 100 pages. That's a little outside the limits of what it can do now.
Okay.
So one of the really amazing things about these models is they're expanding on the limits of what you can upload. So I think at the moment it's roughly 10 to 20 pages. So
That's good.
It's a pretty good start.
Yeah, I think so. I'm going to try Claude because that looks like fun. And just see where it all lands, because who knows what's going to happen in the next 3 weeks.
Yeah, it's really exciting times, and there's lots of tools that are being developed all the time. So we encourage you to try them out and experiment. I think if you use the guidelines that we're laying down in these videos, being careful not to upload any private or sensitive information, then other than that, we encourage you to experiment. This is a really exciting time. We think that these can really improve your workflow.
And I think it's great that we're in the engineering school and we have access to resources like Chris, who can tell us, and keep us on the right track and guide us in using these tools.